Have you ever regretted a single word you spoke? Have you ever, in a moment of anger, said something that cost you a friend, a relationship, or an opportunity that would never return? Or have you ever felt the heavy weight in your heart from words someone spoke to you, words that pierced so deep the wound has never healed? There is a kind of karma that humans create every single day through speech. It is invisible, yet its consequences are painfully real. As light as the wind, yet powerful enough to shatter an entire life. This is verbal karma. In daily life, we never stop speaking, to express, to share, to connect. Yet those very words, if careless, become a double-edged sword, wounding others while silently cutting away at our own blessings. In today's reflection, I invite you to sit quietly for a moment and contemplate with me. What is verbal karma? Why can words create such heavy karmic debt? And most importantly, how can we transform it and preserve blessings from our mouth and our heart? An awakening begins with the very words we are about to speak. And perhaps just 1 minute of listening today may change so much in your life. The ancients said, "Disaster comes from the mouth, illness enters through the mouth." A phrase that sounds simple, yet contains profound truth. In a human life, there are 3 karmas: body, speech, and mind. Among them, speech is the easiest to commit, the hardest to notice, and the most damaging in its consequences. For the mouth is the gateway of the body and mind, and words are the fastest, farthest-reaching actions. Once released, they can never be taken back. Some use words to heal, to encourage, to build, but others wield them like knives, cutting into hearts, tearing apart relationships, even driving someone to despair. Thus the saying, "The tongue kills without blood." A wound from a knife may heal, but a wound from a cruel word may last a lifetime. Buddhism calls this verbal karma. The scriptures describe 4 forms: false speech, lying; frivolous speech, empty, meaningless talk; divisive speech, sowing discord; and harsh speech, abusive, cruel words. Each bad word sows a dark seed, not only in the heart of the listener, but also in the heart of the speaker. Every insult, every lie, every slander diminishes one's own blessings. People often think, "I'm only talking, I didn't harm anyone." But words are vibrations of the soul, crystallized thoughts, actions in sound. A person who speaks evil harbors evil within. One who lies has already lost truthfulness. One who constantly curses reveals a heart full of anger, jealousy, and poison. Buddhist teaching says, verbal karma leads all karmic obstacles. For speech is the first door through which one's mind is revealed. No matter how refined your appearance, how charming your smile, if your words are filled with arrogance, mockery, or malice, you will repel people. Conversely, even someone ordinary, uneducated, yet who speaks with kindness and restraint, will naturally draw love and respect. The ancients said, "A word once spoken, 4 horses cannot chase it back." Words cannot be recalled. A careless remark may push someone to suicide. A joke may pierce an old wound. A slander may tear apart families. History has witnessed false words ignite wars, bloodshed, and tragedies. Why do scriptures say verbal karma can condemn one to hell? In the Sutra of the Bodhisattva Kshitigarbha, the Buddha described souls punished for evil speech. Liars had their tongues ripped out, slanderers had their mouths torn, abusers were burned. These images are not mere myth, but symbols of the heavy karmic debt carried beyond death. A single wrong word can destroy a life. A rumor can kill a family's honor. Malicious slander can ruin reputations for generations. Words seem fleeting, yet they are invisible blades cutting into destinies. Have you noticed? Those who constantly curse, slander, and speak with venom often live surrounded by negativity, anxiety, and misfortune. Harsh words create a dark vibration, draining blessings and isolating the speaker. One word in anger can create lifelong hatred. One lie to avoid responsibility can entangle many in suffering. One divisive remark can split an entire clan. These debts cannot be repaid with apologies or money. They are karmic debts, borne by the one who spoke. There's a proverb, "Words cost nothing. Choose the ones that bring peace." Yet today, many treat cruel speech as wit, insults as strength, slander as freedom. They forget that words are seeds. Speak evil, and you reap suffering. Some ask, but it's only words. How can that be karma? Imagine someone speaking ill of you before your loved ones, turning them against you. Would you still believe words have no power? A slap wounds the body briefly. A cruel word wounds the soul for life. Verbal karma is a silent killer. Society admires smooth talkers, but eloquence without virtue, wit used to harm, flattery used to manipulate, these are not blessings, but curses. For clever words without kindness are poison. The more lies one tells, the more restless the heart. The more hatred one speaks, the more blessings are lost. My teacher once said, "The tongue has no bone, yet it bends destiny." Indeed, those who live in verbal karma drain not only their own fortune, but also their families. Children become rebellious, families fracture, prosperity fades. Because the head of the family spoke evil, the whole household bears its weight. The ancients taught, want to know past causes? Look at today's results. Want to know future results? Look at today's causes. If someone is constantly shunned, embroiled in conflict, smeared with scandal, look at their words. If someone always speaks kindly, uplifts others, and offers encouragement, they may not be wealthy, but they will be rich in relationships and joy. Verbal karma is the easiest to commit, yet most overlooked. It leaves no visible mark, but its reach is vast. In the digital age, a rumor spreads to thousands in seconds, ruining lives. Speech is no longer only spoken, it is typed, shared, commented. Each careless click feeds karma. We live in an era where verbal karma can travel the globe in a single post. The faster we speak, the easier we sin. The lighter we type, the heavier the consequence. A hateful comment, a cruel share, each adds to the weight of karma. As the Buddha taught, among body, speech, and mind, speech moves fastest. Thus, the first training of a seeker is to guard the mouth and the heart. What matters is not how much you say, but what your words do. Do they heal or hurt? Do they uplift or destroy? The mouth can open heaven or drag you into suffering. Before speaking, ask, does this need to be said? Does it harm? Does it diminish my blessings? Friends, in the path of cultivation we often hear, discipline body, speech, and mind. Yet in truth, the hardest is not the heart, it is the mouth. Because once spoken, words fly further than we can see and return heavier than we expect. I have witnessed many people who outwardly appear devout, chanting the Buddha's name, offering services at the temple each day, yet at home they gossip, slander, and sow discord. Others spend the morning attending rituals to ward off misfortune, but in the afternoon they curse their children, insult their spouses, and attack strangers online with venomous words. Is that true practice? What are they really cultivating? They think they are doing good deeds, yet with every careless word, they tear apart the very merit they have tried to build. We may do countless good deeds, but just one malicious word, one false rumor, one insult, and all that accumulated virtue can vanish like foam on water. An uncontrolled tongue drags our blessings down faster than any other karma. This is a lesson I have learned deeply, not only from observing others, but from myself. There was a time I too unknowingly created verbal karma. I did not curse or insult, but I complained, gossiped, and spoke useless words. They seemed harmless, but the effect was real. My mind grew darker, the energy around me heavier. Each time I spoke ill of someone, I thought I was releasing stress, but in truth, I was releasing fortune, losing virtue. Then I came across a saying that struck me like thunder. Those who commit verbal karma are cutting lines across their own blessings. Those words shook me to the core. From that moment, I began practicing restraint, pausing before speaking, thinking before releasing a word. Strangely, my heart grew lighter, opportunities flowed more smoothly, and my relationships became less turbulent. I remember a woman who once came to me, her eyes filled with worry. She asked, "Why do I always meet treacherous people? Why does everyone hurt me, deceive me, treat me badly?" I listened silently for nearly an hour. Then I asked, "Do you often speak ill of others?" She froze, then admitted, "Yes, I have a hot temper. When someone is wrong, I can't hold back my tongue." I told her, "Then you are calling negativity into your life. Every time you unleash harsh words, that verbal karma reflects back on you, like shattered glass cutting into your own fate. If you want to change your destiny, begin with your mouth. Guard your speech, and you guard your virtue. Guard your virtue, and you guard blessings for yourself and your children." My friends, there is no sweeter trap than gossip. When we are hurt, angry, or jealous, our mouth is the first to release it. Yet that is also the first seed of karma. People may forgive a slap, but they rarely forget a cruel word. Once spoken, the other is hurt, and we too lose merit. The Buddha once taught, if the mouth chants sutras but the heart is full of resentment, it is not as good as the silent one who lives with compassion. Do we chant every day yet still criticize and belittle others? Do we speak kindly with the lips but harbor envy in the heart? If so, verbal karma remains. For karma lies not only in words spoken, but in the mind behind them. Dear friend, today, have you spoken words that made someone sad? Have you casually mocked someone, making them feel insecure? Have you joked in a way you thought was harmless, but which weighed on another's heart all day? If yes, pause a moment. Offer silent apology, and know you still have more cultivation to do. To guard speech is not to suppress it, but to choose wisely. To speak what is good, what is kind. To remain silent when words bring no benefit. Some say, I'm just blunt. I speak whatever I think. But honesty does not equal cruelty. Truth spoken without compassion becomes a weapon. If your words wound, then no matter how true, they are wrong. I once heard a saying I treasure: speak words that make the listener want to live better. That is virtuous speech. A person who guards their tongue carries light wherever they go. A person who spreads verbal karma brings harm wherever they arrive. And you know what? Once you begin guarding your words, you will find your mind grows calmer. Fewer words, fewer thoughts, fewer troubles. Your heart grows light as a cloud. And with that, your fortune naturally shifts. A pure tongue uplifts the heart. A virtuous mouth brings blessings even to your descendants. My friends, I am not perfect, nor a saint. I too have made mistakes, spoken wrongly, hurt others in anger. Yet through these wounds I have learned, if words cannot heal, may they never harm. Life is full of anger, misunderstanding, and tension. Yet if we restrain the tongue, hold back one word, we avoid countless troubles. Verbal karma steals opportunities, blessings, and joy without us even knowing. But kind words, spoken at the right moment, can save a life. There is a saying, when your words are beautiful, your face shines. You don't need heavy makeup or grand titles. If your speech makes others feel at ease, you are already virtuous. For beautiful words are the reflection of a kind heart. Friends, in the last part we discussed what verbal karma is, why the mouth is the gateway of life and death, the root of blessings or disaster. But if we only know karma exists without recognizing its consequences, we easily neglect it. That is why today I want us to reflect deeply. Every word you speak redraws your destiny. In Buddhism, verbal karma is among the gravest sins because though unseen, it carries immense destructive power. The Buddha once said, most beings fall into hell because of the mouth. Not swords, not killings, but words. A slander, a vicious insult, a divisive phrase, enough to cast one into suffering for many lifetimes. Confucianism also stresses the power of speech. Confucius taught, words are born of the heart, expressed through the mouth, and can move the world. He advised disciples, be cautious with words before taking action. For once spoken, words are like arrows released. They cannot be recalled. The Book of Rites records, words spoken are like shattered stone. They cannot be restored. The ancients understood karma deeply, so they feared committing verbal offenses. Some, after uttering a single harsh word, would shut themselves away, fast on vegetables for 3 days, and repent. Others, after telling a single lie, could not sleep all night, ashamed before their own conscience. But in today's world, people take words lightly. Slandering others, mocking online, spreading false rumors, many treat these as entertainment, as the pleasure of free speech, without realizing that every malicious word is a seed sown into the field of karma. When the conditions ripen, the fruit appears. It may be loss of blessings, financial ruin, illness, scandals, disasters, or even death. Buddhism divides the retribution of verbal karma into 3 forms. Immediate retribution, within this lifetime. Those who constantly speak with venom live in turmoil, surrounded by slander, shunned by others. Those who hurl curses raise children who are rebellious, bringing disorder into the household. Those who lie will sooner or later lose credibility, leading to ruined careers and failed endeavors. Next life retribution. In the following existence, rebirth as one who is mute, deaf, or born with deformities of the mouth. Rebirth into a lowly family, lacking blessings, always misunderstood. Distant retribution, many lifetimes later. Rebirth in the realms of suffering, hell or hungry ghosts, where the mouth is hooked, burned, or the tongue stretches for miles, plowing across fiery ground. These are not mere fables, but symbols of the deep torment one inflicts upon their own spirit. A story in the Buddhist scripture, Zabao Zangjing, tells of a man named Guo Sheng, known for inventing rumors. He delighted in fabricating scandals, slandering others to amuse drinking parties. One day, he falsely accused a widow of committing adultery with a merchant. His words spread like wildfire. Humiliated, the woman laughed it off as a joke. But not long after, his own daughter was assaulted in the street while the villagers turned a blind eye. They confronted him. "Your daughter suffers, but what of the widow you condemned?" Guosheng collapsed, went mad, and for the rest of his life muttered endlessly, "Don't speak, don't speak." People said he was struck down by verbal karma. Vietnamese folklore also holds such warnings. In one village, an old woman was infamous for gossip. She twisted good deeds, exaggerated faults, and relished tearing down others. One day, she spread a lie that a daughter-in-law had stolen money from her mother-in-law. The entire village shunned the young woman. In truth, it was a misunderstanding. Banished from her home, the woman wandered with her child and disappeared forever. 10 years later, the gossiping woman developed a strange disease. Her mouth erupted in incurable sores. Each time she opened her lips, pus and stench poured forth. When she died, her mouth remained wide open, refusing to close. Villagers said, "Karma came through the mouth, and it left through the mouth." Do you see? A careless word can haunt a lifetime. A false accusation wounds the victim, but also diminishes the speaker's virtue. A venomous remark breaks another's heart while draining the speaker's blessings. Is a fleeting word truly worth carrying the burden of karma for lifetimes? The Taishang Gan Ying Pian teaches, good and evil recompense follows like a shadow to its form. Evil words may not bear fruit immediately, but they are etched into the memory of the cosmos, ripening when the time is right. A cruel remark today may become a lawsuit tomorrow, betrayal next year, or a child lost to addiction decades later. You may not understand why, but the seed was sown long before. The universe forgets no one. Justice owes no debts. The sages said, "Kind words are like the spring breeze. Harsh words are like the winter gale. Words are like climate. They can warm the soul or cut the skin with frost. Harsh words wound no differently than blows. The only difference is they leave no scar on the flesh, but etch themselves into the heart." Buddhist teachings classify verbal karma into 4 forms: lying, harsh speech, divisive speech, and frivolous speech. But whatever the form, the essence of verbal karma is like a sharpened blade. It cuts into the hearts of others and severs the blessings of the speaker. Every word spoken without mindfulness can become an arrow piercing another and a knife carving away at one's own virtue. Lying, false speech. Lying is the most common form of verbal karma. People lie to conceal faults, evade responsibility, seek gain, or simply for idle amusement. Yet each falsehood erodes trust and drains blessings. Confucius taught, a person without trust cannot stand in the world. Lies bear fruit even in this life: loss of credibility, failed ventures, fractured relationships. Over time, the liar lives surrounded by suspicion, isolated from true companionship. In future lives, they may be born with deformities of speech or always misunderstood, their words dismissed. Across many lifetimes, they wander without ever meeting a true teacher, never finding someone who fully trusts them. An old tale speaks of a man named Zhang Sheng, a seller of medicines who often exaggerated his remedies to profit. Once, he sold fake medicine to a pregnant woman, causing her to miscarry. Soon after, Zhang Sheng suddenly became mute. His mouth froze open, tongue hardened like stone, incurable by any physician. Villagers whispered, "This is the verbal karma of selling false medicine." Harsh speech, words of cruelty and abuse. Harsh speech is using words as whips, insults, curses, humiliations. Such words cut deeper than blades, leaving scars in the heart. The ancients said, one word can build a nation, one word can destroy it. A cruel word can drive a person to despair, shatter relationships, ruin families. Immediate retribution comes as conflict, calamity, illness, often diseases of the mouth, throat, or nerves. Next life retribution is rebirth into circumstances of humiliation, scorned and cursed by others. Distant retribution is isolation across lifetimes, or torment in realms where tongues are hooked or burned. I once knew a man infamous for his ferocious tongue. In youth, he insulted without restraint, sparing no one. In old age, he suffered a stroke, paralyzing half his face. His mouth twisted, speech slurred, he could no longer eat properly. His children abandoned him. Neighbors murmured, his mouth was too cruel, now he pays the price of karma. Divisive speech, the double tongue that sows discord. This is the most insidious form of verbal karma, words that create division between people. To one's face, offering praise; behind their back, speaking ill; taking the words of one and twisting them before another, provoking conflict and sowing resentment, distance, and hatred. A person with a double tongue needs no sword to sever bonds of brotherhood, to break friendships, or to dissolve families. The immediate consequence is to live surrounded by gossip and distrust, abandoned by loved ones. The karmic echo is to be born into environments filled with misunderstanding, where every word is distorted, life suffused with suspicion. The long-term retribution is to wander through lifetimes in loneliness, with no place to rely upon. There was once a maid in a household who envied the virtuous wife of her master. Out of jealousy, she told the husband that his wife spoke ill of him and schemed for his money. To the wife, she whispered that her husband suspected her and planned to abandon her for another woman. The couple eventually quarreled and separated. The maid thought she had triumphed, but years later, she developed throat cancer and died in agony. The seeds of division she sowed ultimately came back to destroy her. Frivolous speech, flattery, and empty words. This form of verbal karma may seem light, yet it seeps deep. For those who indulge in flattery rarely speak with sincerity. They use flowery words to please, to curry favor, to manipulate for their own ends. But words that do not rise from the heart carry no virtue. Those accustomed to living by flattery cannot preserve their inner integrity. They may climb quickly, but their fall will be painful, for no one truly respects the two-faced. The immediate result is loss of dignity, loss of integrity, and a life of being used. The karmic echo is to be reborn into realms of deception, surrounded by falsehood, never finding genuine companionship. The ultimate retribution is to have no affinity with wise teachers, no chance to meet true guides, and thus easily lose one's path. The classic text Taishang Ganying Pian writes, "Words that are false, intentions that are insincere, even if the mouth is sweet as honey, are still the root of disaster." Thus, flattering words do not increase blessings, they corrode virtue. Each type of verbal karma leads to heavy consequences. It is not by chance that among the 10 evils, 4 belong to the tongue. Words may be invisible, but their impact is tangible. The ancients warned, a single word released, 10,000 horses cannot chase it back. Speech, once spoken, is like an arrow loosed from the bow. It cannot be recalled. Words spoken at the right time, to the right person, in the right way, bring fortune. Words spoken in the wrong way, at the wrong time, to the wrong person, bring disaster. The mouth can open the gates to heaven or to hell. When the mouth reflects the heart, where does verbal karma begin? If we only look at the surface, verbal karma seems to be gossip, insults, lies, distortion. But if we look deeper, we realize it does not arise on its own. It springs from the heart, from the hidden states of one's inner world. I once asked myself, why do some people enjoy cursing others? Why do some constantly gossip, fabricate, and divide? Why do some, whenever they speak, unleash only venom and cruelty? After years of observing others and reflecting on myself, I came to see this truth. The root of verbal karma lies in a defiled mind, in a heart not yet cultivated. Those who lie often are filled with fear of loss, of blame, of exposure. To protect their ego, they choose untruths. At first, a lie may cover a small mistake, but with time, it becomes habit. In the end, speech ceases to transmit truth and becomes only a mask for weakness. And as you know, one lie demands 100 more to cover it. Thus, the person lives in delusion without even realizing it. Those who curse and hurl harsh words are often lacking in cultivation. They let emotion override reason, anger dictate the tongue. Whenever contradicted, they erupt with venom, like a machine set to explode. They do not see that every insult lowers themselves more than the one they curse. Some even take pride in their sharp tongue, thinking it shows strength, when in truth, the need to wound others only reveals inner fragility and lack of virtue. Those who speak with a double tongue, sowing discord, are not always malicious, but they lack moral principle. Their lives are fueled by jealousy. Unable to bear others' happiness or success, they pull others down with divisive words. Yet in doing so, they cut themselves off from wholesome karma and good destiny. And those who flatter, who fawn, are often trapped by greed for status and gain. Their mouth says one thing, their heart another. They are willing to twist truth to achieve personal aims. Speech becomes a ladder to climb, no longer a vessel of sincerity. But alas, flattery never earns genuine respect. The Buddhist Sutra of 42 chapters has a passage I hold dear. One who has not cut off anger, their words are filled with cruelty. One who has not cut off greed, their words are tainted with lies. One who has not cut off ignorance, their words are wrapped in delusion. That is to say, as the heart is, so the mouth will be. Speech reflects the essence of the mind. Thus Confucius taught, words are the echo of the heart. The more a person gossips, the more restless their mind. The more a person spews venom, the more anger fills their heart. The mouth is only a window. The root lies in the heart. I once knew a wealthy, successful woman, eloquent and persuasive. Yet strangely, her friends drifted away one by one. It turned out she often slandered others behind their backs. She used sweet words to charm her superiors, but belittled those beneath her. She always suspected others of envy, not realizing her own speech was eroding her relationships day by day. Clearly, the mouth does not act alone. It is the heart that moves it. When the heart is untrained, verbal karma is born. When the heart is filled with jealousy, anger, and delusion, even restraint cannot produce wholesome speech. This is why true cultivation requires not only self-discipline, but also the dual practice of mind cultivation and speech cultivation. In truth, no one is born desiring to speak evil, but society, environment, trauma of the past, and above all, the lack of moral grounding make verbal karma flourish. Those without faith, without belief in cause and effect, are even more careless with words, thinking speech has no consequence. Yet it is they who first suffer the weight of their own tongue. The illusions that nurture verbal karma. There is one realization I came to rather late. Many of us commit verbal karma not because of deliberate malice, but simply because we don't see it as serious. We get used to careless speech, sarcasm, excessive joking, until gradually we trivialize the weight of words. And over time, verbal karma grows precisely within that normalization. Perhaps you have heard, or even said yourself, phrases like, "It's just a joke." "I'm only speaking the truth." What's wrong with that? Everyone says it. It's not just me. My mouth, I can say whatever I want. I used to think the same way. But I had to learn the hard way that even a word without ill intent can wound deeply if spoken in the wrong context. I remember once making an offhand remark about someone's appearance, thoughtlessly, and later found out they went home and cried all night. They already struggled with insecurity. I didn't know. To me, it was just casual talk. But for them, it was like a slap in the face. From then on, I understood. We never truly know how a seemingly harmless word might pierce another's hidden wound. Some people say, "But I'm only being honest." Yet think about it. Speaking the truth to help someone improve is sincerity, but speaking the truth just to vent anger or belittle them is still verbal karma. A knife, even if it's just a fruit knife, when stabbed into someone, still causes injury. I have met people who use frankness as an excuse to speak recklessly. But often, what they call straightforward is simply a lack of compassion. A wise person speaks the truth in a way that enlightens others, helps them change, and leaves them grateful. But someone who speaks truth that shames, wounds, and humiliates is someone who has not yet learned to use words wisely. There are also those who feel blameless. I didn't make it up, I only repeated it. But repeating others' faults behind their back, without helping them improve, without bringing any goodness, is still planting seeds of divisive speech. I have witnessed relationships collapse over a careless retelling, spoken thoughtlessly, seemingly harmless. Small stories, but words once released, the wind will never return. Another common illusion is this: many commit verbal karma simply because everyone does it. Seeing friends constantly mocking, exposing, or throwing shade, we follow suit. Gradually, the tongue grows accustomed to hidden stabs, to sharp words that no longer feel sharp. Until one day, we ourselves become the subject of gossip and criticism, and only then realize we once did the same to others. I, too, once lived in such an environment, a circle of friends where every gathering meant speaking ill of others. At first, I felt uneasy. Later, it became amusing. And slowly, it became normal. But after an incident when I myself became the target of backbiting, I truly grasped. Verbal karma is a circle. Today I sow, tomorrow I reap. And worse still, it stains the heart long before we notice. I once read a comment online, just a few sentences of curses, yet venomous as a snake's spit. I don't know who that person was, but I know one thing for certain: a heart at peace could never produce such words. What leaves the mouth is always the mirror of the inner life. If we constantly speak poison, then something inside us is gravely unsettled. There are people who spend their whole lives doing good deeds, yet still live in loneliness and karmic burden because their mouths are too sharp. I once met an elderly woman like that. The whole village praised her charity work, helping the poor, doing countless good acts. Yet her children avoided her. Her friends kept distance. She asked me, "I don't understand. I do so much good, yet people dislike me." But listening to her speak, I understood. Her tone was cutting as a blade, every word an arrow. Listeners were wounded without realizing how. I suddenly recalled an old saying: one word spoken, 3 harvests to reap. No word is just a word. Every utterance, spoken or written, carries energy and consequence. Today, verbal karma no longer lies only in spoken words. It lives in statuses, comments, messages, videos. Whatever we express, online or offline, still plants seeds of karma. And in the age of social media, when harmful words spread faster, the karmic retribution arrives sooner, wider, and heavier. If you have ever been hurt by someone's words, then you know how deeply speech can strike. And when we realize we too have hurt others with our own words, remorse arises. But regret alone is not enough. To dissolve verbal karma, one must begin by turning inward. I once read this in the Dhammapada. One who speaks words that are truthful, gentle, beneficial, and timely, that person does not create verbal karma. These are the 4 principles of right speech: truth, gentleness, benefit, timeliness. Speak truthfully, speak gently, speak what benefits others, speak at the right time and circumstance. It sounds simple, yet in practice it is anything but. For the very first skill in cultivating speech is mindfulness, the awareness of what we are saying and why. With mindfulness, we can pause before letting harm slip from our lips. I once practiced a small habit, holding my tongue for 3 seconds before saying something unpleasant. Just 3 seconds, yet many times it saved me from words that could have fractured relationships. Because I realized, some words once spoken, no apology can retrieve. In Confucianism, Confucius taught, each day I examine myself on 3 points. Have I been faithful in my dealings with others? Have I been trustworthy with friends? Have I practiced what was passed on to me? Among these, one point is, do I keep my word with friends? Confucius emphasized that language and virtue must go hand in hand. A gentleman speaks little, does much, and his words carry weight and principle. Thus, guarding speech is also guarding character. I once met a man over 90, respected by all. What impressed me was not wealth or education, but the fact that he had never spoken a harsh word in his life. His grandchildren said, "Grandfather always said, the mouth is the gate of blessings and also of disaster. No matter how much good you do, if your mouth only speaks harm, blessings will vanish." He didn't just teach it, he lived it. He greeted everyone kindly, spoke gently, praised others sincerely, never scolded anyone. His entire life, no one ever saw him raise his voice. That, I believe, is true cultivation of speech, daily practice in ordinary life. No need for long recitations. Simply guarding the tongue, speaking with kindness, that alone is already practice. In Buddhism, to dissolve verbal karma, there is a very effective practice that I believe you can try: observing precepts and reciting the Buddha's name or the name of a bodhisattva. For when the mind inclines toward goodness, the mouth naturally loses the urge to speak harm. I have a friend who used to be hot-tempered, often shouting at his family. One day, after his mother passed away, he was overwhelmed with regret because the last conversation he had with her was raised in anger. From then on, he resolved to change. He began by reciting 108 names of Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva each night before sleep. He told me, "I don't know if I'll ever become enlightened, but every time I finish reciting, I feel less inclined to stir up conflict." Slowly, he grew gentler, and his wife and children felt warmer around him. I too once practiced mindful silence for 7 days. In those 7 days, I spoke nothing unnecessary, no complaints, no gossip, no judgments. At first it was hard, but after a few days my mind settled, no longer restless as before. And the miracle was this: when the mouth is silent, the ears hear more clearly, the eyes see more deeply, and the heart feels more profoundly. Cultivating speech is not just about speaking less or speaking skillfully, but about speaking in a way that harms no one, not even oneself. A heartfelt word spoken at the right time, even if brief, can be a lamp in the night. A harmful word, no matter how eloquent, is still a sugar-coated blade. I have seen too many people lose friends, lose connections, lose their merit, all because of a single utterance. I believe the hardest part of guarding speech is not knowing how to speak well, but knowing when to speak and when to remain silent. Life is never short of moments that tempt us to blurt out judgment, blame, or one-upmanship. Yet it is in precisely those moments that if we can pause, we have already dissolved half of the karma. I once had a fierce quarrel with a very close friend. In my anger, my head swarmed with dozens of sharp, logical retorts. But fortunately, I managed to keep my mouth closed just in time. I stepped outside, took a deep breath, and sent a short message. I realize there's been a misunderstanding. I hope we can talk later when we're both calmer. Thanks to that, the friendship did not collapse. I learned this. When angry, remain silent. When irritated, be patient. When the truth is unclear, listen. When offering feedback, speak with compassion, not with competition. Sometimes silence itself is compassion, not because we have nothing to say, but because we do not want to wound another further. A gentle silence can be more powerful than 1,000 sharp words. I, too, have regretted words I spoke in the heat of anger, sentences that shattered a precious relationship. From that, I learned one rule. If a word is not necessary, not kind, not timely, it's best left unsaid. These 3 filters are what I try to apply whenever I open my mouth. At gatherings, when people gossip about someone absent, I practice shifting the subject, or softly saying, let's not talk about others when we don't know the full story. It's not good. Not because I'm more virtuous, but because I understand. Every word I add corrodes my own store of blessings. And there are times when I choose to speak, but only to connect, comfort, and encourage. A well-timed compliment can rescue a gloomy day. A gentle encouragement can lift a fractured soul. I once saw a friend standing on the brink of despair, triggered by just one careless remark from someone. And then a simple message, I always believe you have value. Please don't forget that. Pulled them back from the edge. Cultivating speech does not mean being completely silent. It means speaking what is worth saying, what should be said, at the right time in the right place with a kind heart. Words are a form of energy. Let ours carry light, not so shadows. I have also realized that writing goodness is another way of cultivating speech. Writing a kind sentence, sharing an inspiring story, leaving a gentle comment, all are ways of planting wholesome words. Especially in this digital age, where words can travel thousands of miles, we must all the more guard against digital verbal karma. We cannot live without speaking, but we can live in such a way that our words cause no hurt to others and no regret to ourselves. Verbal karma is easy to sow, but slow to repay. Yet just like plants, if we stop watering the bad seeds and instead sow seeds of compassion in ourselves and others, then our speech will no longer be a weapon, but an instrument of peace. If what I share today makes you pause, reflect, hold back a sharp reply for just a moment, or take your own words more seriously, then I believe that is already the first step in transforming verbal karma. And if you feel this message has value, please like and share it so that another wholesome seed may reach someone who needs it. Perhaps one person stumbling upon it may awaken amidst their anger. Perhaps a word of advice you pass along may touch the heart of someone about to wound their loved one. One share, one story, one kind word. Who knows? It may save a relationship. Who knows? It may preserve a blessing. Who knows? It may plant a wholesome seed for this very life.